It must be difficult for you too. I'm sure you've been asked this question by many journalists. The highlight for you. Or was there a highlight, or can you quantify it, or can you put it down to two or three?
You could probably put it down to two or three, and making my debut was a highlight. You know, you go back and I think, and I was 20, we were playing in Luxembourg. It wasn't the most glamorous arenas. I played in many national stadiums, in the country. Obviously, you remember the Millennium and your Old Traffords and all these things. But when, I remember the national stadium in Luxembourg probably better than, because it was my debut, and I still remember the country. Welcome to the Josie Bartel Stadium. Whoever Josie Bartel is, but I still remember the stadium.
I remembered I was talking to him.
So that
I was there along with the 23 hours.
So that was me, and I still remember that stadium. But highlights: debut, scored my first goal at Windsor Park against then it was a Yugoslavia team. Before they sort of broke up into the Serbia and Montenegro. So I think I might have been one of the few Northern Ireland players that ever played against a Yugoslavia, a Serbia and Montenegro, a Serbia and a Montenegro, broken when the team is broken down. So I look back and I think, yeah. My last goal at Windsor Park, the Azerbaijan goal, it was, I thought it had been so long sort of since I'd scored a goal at Windsor Park, not even at Windsor, but in general. So that goal was, I think you've seen, it was a 96th minute or something. We're getting beat 1-0 against Azerbaijan. And to score that late, but also to save us, the boys are getting the ball out of the net, and I'm like celebrating in the corner because this might have been my last minute. It ended up being my last moment scoring a goal in front of the fans. So that was, and then the England, Spain, the Denmark goals like that.
But wasn't it interesting, the fact, isn't it? You talk about your debut, you talk about your first goal against Yugoslavia, you talk about that goal against Azerbaijan, and the things that people would be thinking, obviously, the hat-trick against Spain, and that unbelievable goal against England, they'd be right up there, and that they're almost relegated to 4th, 5th. I don't mean relegated, but they're put down. They're not the most important thing to you.
They're not, because, as nice as they were bonuses, they were extra goals. Nobody could ever have dreamed of scoring a hat-trick against Spain or scoring a winner against England. But what I did hope for when I did come into the team was to make my debut, score some goals for Northern Ireland. And when it had been so long since I hadn't scored before the Azerbaijan game, I was praying just for one more. It'd been 3 years or whatever it'd been. I hadn't played in all the games. I was carrying a lot of injuries. My fitness levels were down. But just to score one more, that was driving me on. Even and I think it says after the game, I could have retired after the game, and would have retired a happy man.
Do you miss it?
I certainly do, especially when I come to Windsor Park, when I watch the games, when I see the build up, and fortunate enough that I took my kids to the last game, and the fans, and as a player you don't see the fans coming in, you don't see how excited they are, you don't hear the songs, they're bouncing off walls to get in, and they're along the Lisburn Road at 4 o'clock, and they're in bars in Belfast all afternoon. You don't see that, but when you come away from that, you're sort of thinking, what's it like from a fan's perspective. So to see them, see how they respond, see how excited they are, and for me that gives me a sense of sort of what it was like when I was in the dressing room. These fans are so excited to see the national team play our team, who's doing well at the minute. So when we were going through the highs and the lows, it gives me a sort of insight to see the way the fans are on the outside.